Welcome to the Empower Me Show with Pam Bright. This show is all about honoring you as a spiritual being, having a human experience. You are here for a reason, and it's no mistake that you are here on Earth right now. Spirit has guided you to this very moment in time, so you could hear the messages Pam is about to share with you. She is a multidimensional healer, light language channel, transformation coach, wife, and mother, committed to helping you discover the tools and practices to empower you to live the best life you can. You get to choose the spirit path you take. You can connect to the spiritual guidance already all around you. Get ready to live a fully empowered life. This is the Empower Me Show.
Back to another episode of the Empower Me Show. My name is Pam Bright. I'm your host for this episode today, and I am here with my new dear friend, Mike, who is teaching me about how to live an empowered life through the embracing of Heaven is Within. That's the name of his website, which I love because I have a deep connection with what we term as heaven, those beautiful angelic energies of the cosmos that we term as heaven, where the angels live. But we know that angels and our guides and our teachers live everywhere, right? They're within us as well as all around us. And so that's what we're going to talk about today is what is the support that's already all around us that we may not have tapped into yet, and we are ready to take that next step towards unity, oneness, connection, support, miracles, if you will, really the launching pad of bringing in 2023. That's what we get to do today as we journey together on the Empower Me Show. And so, Mike, thank you for being here. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so glad to hear what you have to share with everyone.
Sure.
Your journey. And before we get going any further, as you know, if you've been following me for a while, it's important for me as a host to ground us into really the essence of who we are as spiritual beings having human experiences. I believe that it's not enough to simply connect in with those cosmic energies. It's really vital that we also tap into the core of who we are as humans. When we have the two together, that's a true marriage of matter and spirit combined. And that, I believe, is what our journey is all about today. If you're in a position where you can close your eyes, that would be ideal so that you can really tap into that heart space that you are and release anything that's in the way of you really being present right now. So I'm going to actually do that myself. And if you can safely close your eyes without distraction, then go ahead and do that. And let's concentrate on our breathing, our breath. It's been called is the breath of life. So as we breathe consciously, we consciously bring the breath of the Creator God, the star beings, the planets, the empty space, as well as Gaia, the Earth Mother, and all of the beings that work with her. And we bring those up fully into our physical selves. And so just whether you want to start from bringing the energies down through the top of your head, you can start there, or you can bring the energies up through your feet, especially if you need to ground. being one with the earth helps us to ground ourselves into the knowing that we are. And I'm just going to do some light language for us so that we can bring those energies in fully. I like to do both, bringing the energies in through the top of my head and bringing the energies up through my feet from Gaia. Handazadahi nazadahi Hananayete hayatunana seyenahi Honezanayahianahianaye Anazaneyanaye. For those of you who are in the brain trying to figure out what's coming through me, I give you the permission to set that aside and simply be in the experience and the feeling of that resonance in your body system. Sanda da he na sehina ha na he na he na 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 sanehi na sanahi na hi na hi na hi. We thank those energies for coming from the earth and her core and from the star systems and the planets all the way into the body system, connecting in with all the chakras and especially connecting in with the heart center. Nasana yatara etit anatayet ut anamat eyati Otanamayate. And with another nice deep breath, I invite you to come back into this space now, feeling yourself aligned with your spiritual essence and your human self together. Welcome back to this space. Mike, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Pam.
And
glad to be here.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about how you and I met. We actually haven't physically met yet, but we met online.
Right.
And what caused you to decide that you wanted to take this opportunity and be on the Empower Me show?
Interesting question. So I have been a bit of a seeker my whole life, so to speak, in one way or another. It started as mainstream religion, so to speak, and kind of branched off into various modalities within spirituality, but not necessarily mainstream religion. So I started exploring things as, I don't know, in my 30s, maybe late 30s, early 40s, inside and outside of my religion, which happens to be Jewish. And I had some experiences which, you know, as many of us do, I couldn't really explain to myself and didn't understand why they were happening, and which led me to explore even more. So I got into things like Kabbalah and the Bhagavad Gita and various different modalities within spirituality. And I had some really interesting, difficult challenges after that, which led me to go even deeper. Meditation, various things. And, you know, my whole, within 30 years, I had stayed at my job as an accountant for so long, I just got buried into it and felt that I had no way out. And it was this one very dark period in 2018, which caused me to begin the process, so to speak, of self-actualization. And that led me to writing and to thinking and to creating this website with a friend of mine. And at this point, I am now looking for a different line of work. And I just happened to fall into the line of work which I am now engaged in, which is administration at a hospital. But the whole time thinking, there's more to it than this. And what is it that's causing me to keep moving in another direction, even though, I need mainstream for the benefits and this and that. I knew deep inside here and here, there was more to it. So I started looking and things started falling into place. Life coaching came to mind. My wife said, why don't you ask people who are already doing this? Okay. So I started exploring. Kathy Sherwood happened to be in the Awakened Academy, and she said, well, I can connect you with some people. And so here comes Pam Wright. Boom. And Pam and I started talking, and then she's like, oh, yeah, Awakened Academy, it's great. And, you should look into it. And one thing led to another, and conversation went back and forth. And sure enough, I did and explored it. And I am now engaged in that process to try to get my certification. But interestingly enough, within the hospital, I kept going for these jobs within community health work, which is what I got certified in at the hospital. And I could not find a job within community health work. It just kept pulling me back. All these doors I thought were opening. I was going back to the hospital. They suddenly said, I was working part-time there, and they said, do you want to work full-time? We could really use you. I'm like, sure, I'm not finding anything within community health. So I started going in another direction and decided that would be it, because I had met somebody there who became my first client and took her from a really dark place to something much, much better. And she's doing phenomenal now. I mean, miraculously. And I was so pleased with that. I'm like, I'm definitely going all the way with this. There's something here. And it's not just a feeling. As you mentioned before, there's a connection. There's a frequency, a vibration, whatever you want to call it. And I knew intuitively, I'm like, this is it. This is where I need to be. You're in the hospital, but you're not meant to be working at that job. You're meant to be teaching, helping, doing whatever in another capacity. It's just the hospital that was the conduit. It was the vessel, which led me into the next step. So now this is like, it's not even a possibility. It's a definitiveness. It's an awareness. It's like, okay, you're cut out for this. And I was getting all the signs. I'm very into numerology and various, you open your eyes, you say, oh, I've been asking God for this. And for years, he hasn't been responding, or she hasn't been, God respond, you will get an answer. You may not like the answer. You may be looking to the left, it comes right, but it comes, and too many of us don't believe that just because we don't like, it's like, in other words, you're not fitting in. That's not what I wanted. That might be the soul's agenda. It might not be the physical agenda, but it's the soul's agenda. And like you said, when the physical and the spiritual mesh and integrate, that's when the magic happens. There are so many circumstances in my life where that occurred. I can't go into all the details and the examples, but I knew this was where it was, that this, for me, that's where it was supposed to be.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. So that actually is a great segue for our first caller today, who is Bobby. Bobby is one of my clients that I've been working with for several years now. And Bobby, thank you for calling in, honey. I know you're on the train, but why don't you talk a little bit about the quandary that you're in with, that things are changing, and yet you're still doing a corporate job that really is just kind of paying the bills right now. Why don't you tell Mike a little bit about that and see what he has to say about that. Okay. Maybe.
Bobby, you're on.
Am I on?
Yeah.
You are on, sweetie. So did you just hear my question?
Yeah, it's not been easy. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff going on at home. Now I'm going to my mom's house for a couple weeks. I'm going to spend 2 weeks with my family, and I'm having to, I'm looking at some big decisions in my life. Just what am I going to do? Am I going to end up moving to South Florida someday? Or what exactly is going to happen? And it kind of feels like the past month, kind of feeling like this train ride, just kind of side to side motion, and
So
you might be able to.
what has been happening since you and I met, you with you spiritually and having that shift happen?
Working with teams, angels, things like that.
And has it been a little challenging with the work that you're doing currently? And how does the angel work and the Reiki fit in?
Yeah.
Okay. So Mike, what would you share with Bobby about being in this kind of transition point of you got yourself here doing this survival job, and yet this other work is calling you?
Right.
You haven't quite made that decision yet?
Sure. Bobby, I actually went through the same kind of thing for quite some time, still actually doing it right now with work at the hospital. But what I mention in my book, Taking a Chance on Life, is if you're getting a calling and you're feeling it in your heart and in your mind, you don't have to do that 8 hours a day. You can do it 10 minutes a day if that's all you have time for, or a half hour a day at night. It's obvious that what I'm hearing is you have a calling to do something more. It's very important to, while you're in the physical world, to play by the physical rules. So, bills are important, and, making a living is important. Benefits are important. But that doesn't mean you can't explore these feelings to some degree, even if it's, like I said, 10 minutes. I went through a lot of stages, in reading various, as I mentioned to Pam, reading various books on spirituality, and got into meditation for quite some time, still to some degree am doing that. But like I said, what I would suggest is to explore it at your pace and in your own way, and keep going with the job until you're called to do something full time and can sustain yourself in that particular path. In the meantime, you're continuing your spirituality in your own way, at your own pace. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to all of a sudden make the jump one day and the next day you're in something else. It's, as we said, and the topic is transformation. So you're transforming, sometimes slowly, sometimes a little quicker. Does that seem to make sense?
Yeah, it's kind of like kind of comparing it to the train ride. Sometimes we go a little slow, sometimes we go pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean,
and sometimes there's a lot of noise, sometimes it's quiet.
Sure. What are you doing? I mean, can you explain a little bit about what kind of hits you're getting? What is it that you really think you may, what direction you want to go into?
As far as work goes.
And I'm wanting to write a book. It's a fictional story about an archangel, Ariel. And there are some facts in the book. Conversations are real. And she, talks about how she's helping me get through things and stuff that we're doing. And there's some fiction in it to make it fun. I'll have to get your email address from Pam so I can share a little bit of the book with you. Give you a little taste of it.
So you're writing it right now. Is that what am I understanding correctly? You're writing this book right now?
Yes, I'm in the middle of writing it. It's been a project for the past year and a half, 9 months.
Okay. Excellent. That's an excellent way to get your thoughts out, to get some things across, some messages and ideas. I worked on mine for a number of years and put it on the back burner. So certainly keep going with that. I implore you to continue. It's an excellent process. It's a learning it was a learning process for me. And you can self-publish or go the traditional route. I chose to self-publish, so
Right.
I think you should continue with that. Even like I said, if it's for a few minutes a day, that's very important to do because it seems to me like you're being called to do this. So
yeah.
In the meantime, is your job what you're doing for a living? Is that going okay? Is there, some?
It's going pretty good. It's just not that fulfilling.
It's not that fulfilling.
It's not that fulfilling.
Yes, I can relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
But do what you do, as I said, while in the physical, we're engaged in this dynamic process of working through the kinks and going through the motions, and it's just something that we have to do. On the other hand, we are spiritual beings having this human experience, as Pam said.
Yeah.
So we need to kind of pay attention to both dimensions. Actually, it would be all three dimensions: body, mind, and spirit. So when we're in that zone, so to speak, it's magic and it flows. But it can sometimes take quite some time to get in there. My
Right.
suggestion is to just keep going and allow it to come through. It's not a rush process. It's not a forced process. It's an allowance. And you'll get directions. As I said before, they don't always come the way you think they should come, but they do come. I can assure you they will come.
Yeah.
Well, and Bobby, I know that you're getting lots of answers from the spirit team that you're working with, which is awesome. Because I have firsthand knowledge of that, which is great. I got the inside scoop. So I wanted you to hear from a male perspective, some guidance from someone who is in the process of transitioning into a life that he loves, with work that he loves, in a lifestyle that he loves. And so that's what I think you can take away from this conversation, Bobby, is keep going and trust the guidance that you're receiving, because that will sustain you. And so I'm going to give you a light language blessing to guide you on your train ride. And it's going to sustain you as you go into this new adventure with your family and into your holiday season. Okay.
Cool.
So we now ask that all of Bobby's guides, teachers, and angels center around him, fill up the train and guide and gift those that are on the train with him as he journeys to his next destination. Anasana ye kara etaraba itu asadedechu anasaneka edadanda isana ye amaye kuma kesanamakia anashenasana ye anasana yeke anamamaya. So Ariel just came in and said, I'm right here. Sanaya sana yeke namakia namakia. Kune sana yeka na sana yeka na.
All right.
All right, my dear. Thank you so much for calling in, and know that you're loved. Absolutely.
Love you.
You're being guided every step of the way.
I
Thanks
love
for
you.
calling. Thanks for calling in. I love you too, hun. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
So there we go with a little bit of transformational work, folks, from two coaches. I'm often bringing in coaches onto this show because that seems to be what you are asking for. As I've mentioned many times to you that are listening, I allow spirit to take over, and then I listen to what wants to come through and then act accordingly. And that's my invitation to all of you is when you allow yourself to receive spiritual support, your life will open up in ways that you never even dreamed of. And you'll start getting those spiritual nudges all the time. And the more that you ask and let your guides know that you're ready to have them work with you, the more that they will. Haven't you found that to be true for yourself, Mike? The more you ask, the more you receive?
Without a doubt, like you said, you will get the hits, you'll get the messages. They come sometimes slowly, sometimes much quicker. I seem to get them in numbers, license plates, signs, various places. I would get the numbers and I would look up the quote unquote angel number in my phone. There was several websites which explained them. So I knew when I was getting 55, like dozens, and I'm not exaggerating, dozens of times per day, I would be like, okay, something's going to happen, something's changing. And I got this message, I got this spam, which, I know I don't read my spam, I just delete it. But this one message in 2018 came across, and it was, when things appear as though they're completely falling apart is when they're finally coming together. I'm like, really? What is that supposed to mean? And boy, did the bleep hit the fan in 2018. And it took me through a tremendous challenge that I came out the other end, thankfully, okay. And I was pretty much, on my way from that point to say, okay, this is what I'm meant to do. But you can't transcend it without experiencing it. It's just, you can't do that. You have to experience it in order to transcend it. So sometimes it comes that way. And in the middle of that, and in the thick of it, it seems impossible to get through, but you do get through it. That's my message to your listeners. You will get through it. You are getting through it. And there's ways to help you get through it. There's so many different tools that you can use out there right now. I found mine in a series of books, Conversations with God and 3 Magic Words, and all these different books I started reading and listening to audiobooks, and it took me in another direction, a very powerful direction.
Absolutely. So talking about books, we're going to hear about what books Mike has actually written to help you on this beautiful journey, you folks that are listening, because the Empower Me show is all about you and your transformational journey. So we're going to take a break. And those of you who need to take a break and get some water, use the restroom, get a bite to eat, whatever, we're going to be back after these messages. And then we're going to hear more from Mike. And we want to know about his writing that he's been doing and more about whatever else he feels you, the listener, really are ready to hear. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back to the Empower Me show. I'm here with my dear friend, Mike, and we are talking about unity and really, what does that mean in this day and age of sometimes chaos, sometimes confusion, sometimes anxiety. This time of year in December, you kind of get all of those things going on, don't we, Mike?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
The holidays are great, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
You said that you have a Jewish background.
I
So
do.
does that mean that you celebrate Hanukkah?
Absolutely. Tonight is the fifth night, and we will be lighting the menorah for Hanukkah, the festival of lights. So,
Okay. Great.
however, I celebrate Hanukkah, but as a child, I was raised with both the Christian holiday of Christmas and the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah. Not that my parents were Jewish and Christian, but that my father was raised by a Christian, a nanny, and she took us to her house and celebrated Christmas. So it's a wonderful, in my heart, this time of year just brings wonderful, warm feelings back. I recall my days as a youth and celebrating Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Beautiful. Well, I wanted to really let people know that are listening that we really honor whatever your tradition is.
Absolutely.
And I am aware that many people have a little bit of a challenge with the holidays, especially the Christmas holidays.
Right.
And so I want to really honor you, Mike, and also those that are listening that may celebrate Hanukkah, as well as those who celebrated the winter solstice yesterday, because that's another pretty large group of folks that celebrate the solstice, the pagan religion, the Wiccan religion, which I think I don't know if it's actually a religion or if it's just a tradition.
Right.
But I kind of have my fingers in all the different pots.
Absolutely.
As much as I can, because that's really the spice of life, isn't it?
Well, sure. I mean, you mentioned the word unity, and the reality of it is that, spirit, God, however you choose to define it, her, him, is one. We have this prayer in Judaism. It's called the Shema, and it's basically, Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. Now, some people say there is only one God, but it's actually translated as the Lord is one, meaning God, spirit, encompasses all of it, all energy, all life. And I truly believe that. I'm trying to live that concept and that idea of unity. Too many people feel that separation is the reality, and I'm telling you that that's an illusion. For sure.
Yeah, I agree. Illusion is real, folks, that we are separate from each other, that we are separate from God, the divine, that we are separate, really separate for anything, right?
Absolutely.
But the thing that really struck home to me is when I started hearing from these scientists that were talking about, when you put a form, whatever it is, a human being, like skin tissue or a table or whatever is the essence of the thing that is on Earth, and you put that under a microscope, you're not going to see solid. You're going to see lots of different things moving around, because we're energy first. First and foremost, we are energy. And as we work with the etheric, the quantum, if you will, then with our thoughts, with our feelings, with our spiritual connections, with our manifestation techniques, then we can bring all of that into a form.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of my understanding of energy and how it works. So somehow that is going into this whole discussion about the books that you're writing.
Right.
So tell us about what is Taking a Chance on Life. That's your book that you've written? Yes,
Taking a Chance on Life was the first. It is a spiritual book. It's a hybrid autobiography, spiritual book about self-actualization. Really, it's kind of a lens. It's like I'm writing about seeing these physical experiences that we all have through a different lens. So in other words, if I'm wearing a particular lens, I see the world through a particular way, and it's because of this lens. But if I change the lens, it's not the reality, the physical reality that changes. It's the lens through which I see it that changes. Now, most people believe the opposite because they're not aware that they're seeing the world through a particular lens. They believe that that's the way it is. That's just the reality of the situation. And it lends itself to divisiveness and all kinds of negativity. I'm here, you're there. I'm right, you're wrong. And, all kinds of, it's a dichotomy, but it's truly not what we're living is a triome, not a dichotomy. It's like this body, mind, spirit is broken up into, body, mind, spirit, heart, mind, soul, whatever you want. It's a trichotomy, not a dichotomy. And that's the problem with us. We truly do not, I don't want to say we have it all wrong. It's just a particular viewpoint, which I think needs to be expanded. That's what I really want to get into. You need to expand it because I think we're too closed-minded when it comes to all this stuff. Because we can't see it or feel it or taste it or touch it, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Right? You don't have the tools necessarily to experience that. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You know how to work a cell phone, right? I mean, you think that it works a certain way. You don't know how it works, but it still works. So you use it. I just think a lot of people have it, they're seeing something through a particular lens and they think that's the only way to view it. It's not. There's other ways.
Absolutely. So is there a process? I don't know if it's me or somebody else that is doing a little bit of back noise, but do you have some kind of an exercise, short exercise that you can share with folks about, okay, so you're seeing it this way, this thing that you're experiencing.
Right.
And then a way that they can shift to looking another way. Do you have some kind of a process that you could take people on, or something that you can share in your book that might, kind of point the light on that?
Sure. I don't have a particular process that will all of a sudden shift the dynamic, but what I found most helpful, for me anyway, was meditation. As I meditated, the more I did it and the deeper I went, the more my perspective on things shifted and changed. And as I got more and more into this meditation process, I actually physically felt different, calmer, more astute, just more focused. It sort of takes you into another, as you said, direction and perspective. And that's kind of what changed my particular lens. Now, it's not the same for everybody. Some people gravitate towards music, for instance, poetry, writing. But if you find that you're pulled in a certain direction, keep going with that. Not to say that that's going to be the end all and that's going to all of a sudden change the lens, because I hear what you're saying. But for me, in any case, meditation seemed to allow me to change my lens and see things from a different perspective. Reading as well. When I started educating myself in other modalities, that helped a lot. I won't mention names, but certain people have a problem with going into a different house of worship. Oh, I'm not going to do that. That's just not me. Why? It's a different perspective. See it from the other person's point of view. Maybe you guys will get along better. So as far as a particular exercise, I wouldn't say a particular, it's different for all people. For me, meditation really helped. And I explored guided meditation first. That really helped me a lot. It was guided, and then I suddenly shifted from that to just, transcendental meditation, where I would just meditate, close my eyes. And I did it pretty much every day. Still do to some degree, but not as much. But yeah, that's really the process for me is to in order to change the lens, you need to be willing to do something different. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing every day, expecting a different result. It's not going to work, guys. It's just not. So, and I found that out the hard way.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Me too. So is there a quote or something in your book that you'd like to share with folks that can sustain them
Yes,
over the holidays?
absolutely. The quote is actually in the very beginning, and it just kind of came to me in a flash, and I'll read it. And I came upon the flames of doubt and fear for most of my life, but through faith, love, and resolve I never knew I had, was able to extinguish what I later discovered was nothing more than an illusion.
Hmm.
And honestly, what I'm trying to get at there is that we all have moments of excuse me, 1 second. I'm sorry. We all have moments of doubt. We all have moments of fear. It's part of life. But the reality of it is that, as I mentioned this word illusion, and I keep saying that again and again. I say illusion because a great master was asked the question, Master, what is real? And he said, that is real, which never changes. All else is illusion. Your energy body, your soul, whatever you want to call it, your spirit, is everlasting and eternal. It doesn't change. It is what it is. Everything else changes. And that's why I say illusion. You feel, of course, in the physical world, you feel like everything is real. I'm touching this computer right now. It feels solid. It is not. And you mentioned yourself, it's energy. Why is it energy? Well, because it's made of atoms. But atoms are 99.9% space. Not only are they space because the electrons are spinning around this center of neutrons and protons, but the space between the electron and the center of the atom is equivalent to the distance between the sun and, say, Pluto in the micro world, in the quantum world. So you got all this space in the atom. Well, what is the atom made of? Subatomic particles, but they're not physical. They're energy packets, they're frequencies. So the reality of it is, even the smallest particle, which is an atom, is not physical, yet we feel real. It's space and energy. So we're energy.
Yes, we are. Yep. Isn't that wild? See, there's so much new. Well, it's not new anymore, really. It's been going on for quite a while, but the energy world versus the scientific world, right? And how many studies now have been taken from scientists who are now realizing the reality of spirituality and energy, and how many movies and books have been written and movies that have been shown about our thoughts creating our reality, and the way that we see something when it shifts, the thing that we're looking at actually shifts, right? This is what we're talking about, folks. Look at the things in your life that you are absolutely 100% sure are the only way it is. Okay? I give you the invitation and the challenge of taking on that concept. This is a perfect time of year to do this. We're coming up on another year. 2023, I always think that it's a great time to start again, to start something new, right? People think of, goals and dreams and and New Year's resolutions, right? If those are things that you agree with, then I'll absolutely take them on, start something new that way. If it's simply, you know what, I'm releasing my past. I'm releasing what hasn't worked in 2022. And I'm ready to take on something that I've never tried before. That's another way to look at this concept of, oh, it's always going to be this way. It's never going to change. Life's terrible. Whatever our self-talk is about life and about ourselves and about other people, when we shift that simply by a breath, simply by a conversation, right? Simply by a goodbye letter, simply by God help me. I don't even know if I believe in you, but please help me if you're out there. Things can shift just like that.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So we have a few minutes left. What is it that you feel is the most important communication or information or help that is available right now in our conversation together?
Okay, that's an easy one, Pam. You mentioned about changing the dynamic, changing the thought, changing the direction. And what can you do to enable you to do that? Well, as I mentioned, everything is energy, including thought. And Wayne Dyer is one of the one of the favorite gurus of all time, as far as I'm concerned. He said, when you change your thoughts, you change your life. And if thought is energy and everything is, changing that energetic frequency or pattern will attract something new, something different. What is it that you choose to attract into your life? Certainly, you're not going to attract prosperity and peace and health if you're constantly worried about not having that. So you're going to want to choose what you do want versus what you don't. And think on that and think about that, even if it means trying to fake out your mind for a bit. Eventually, you're going to buy into it. I'm not saying live in a non-reality. What I'm saying is think only on what you choose to have. Is this thought that I'm about to think self-serving? Is it going to help me? Is it going to help me through self-actualization? Or is it going to be a negative thing that will take me in the opposite direction of where I want to be? Too many people say, well, I don't want that. Saying I don't want that is like a prayer. What is it that you do want? The universe listens. You don't want, the universe doesn't hear don't, doesn't hear no. It hears that. I don't want cancer. I don't want bad things to happen. I don't want to get into a car accident. If you're constantly thinking, I don't want to get into a car accident, you're going to attract that. You want to think a different way. You're going to try to switch that thought in your mind. Because if everything is energy, you attract that which you're putting out. If you want something, give it away. You want to attract something, give out that energy, right? So that's the most important takeaway, I believe, from this conversation is your thoughts create your words, which create your habits. Think only on what you choose to experience.
I love that. I love that. And actually, folks, when we end here, what we're going to do, I'm going to lead you through a little exercise here that will give you a jump start to this particular way of thinking. Okay. So again, if you're in a position where you can close your eyes, that gives your body system the message that it's okay to go within. And as you close your eyes and you connect in, I want you to go right to your heart space, okay? This beautiful chakra, which is right where your heart is, and this whole band all the way across and inside of you. And I want you to ask your heart right now what it needs. What does my heart need right now? And then listen to the answer. Now, when I say listen, you may not hear it audibly. It may not be like, oh, here's some words for you. It may be just a thought in your head, or you may hear a ringing in your ears, or you may have this idea of a book just pop up to go read this, or a song that you haven't thought of for a while just will pop in. Okay. Or you'll have an inspiration to get your color crayons out and start coloring. Listen to that prompt, which that's going to lead you to what your heart needs right now. Okay. So for me right now, as I listen to my heart, what it wants is it wants connection. It wants connection with you. It wants connection with those that I love, which includes those of you who are on this radio show right now that are listening. What it wants right now is me to take care of my physical self. Those are just a couple of the things that I heard. Okay. The other thing is I've been doing that kind of listening for a while. And so I have practice. So if this is a new way for you to connect in with yourself, your inner self, practice. Keep practicing that inner question and answer kind of conversation. If it helps you to write down your question, great. Start journaling. I know for myself for a while, it was like, oh, journaling. Oh, I don't, that word just, that triggered me, right? So I couldn't even think about journaling, but I could think about writing it down somewhere. Sometimes you have to start with a Post-it note. Sometimes you write it in the imagination right across your forehead so that you can see it in the mirror. Sometimes you speak to someone about it. Start somewhere, listening to that heart, because your heart will never lie to you. Your heart tells the truth. Even when you aren't listening, it tells the truth. So that is my heart's wish for you, my heart's desire for you, is that you take what we give you in these episodes and you try them out in your life and see if you get an answer to a question that you didn't know you had. What would you, why don't you tell us, Mike, about how to get your book?
Okay.
And also about how to find you if people want to find out more about you and what you're doing for work.
Sure.
In your life.
So the book is on Amazon. I'm currently trying to create an audio book with it and an ebook as well, but that will come in the next few weeks.
Great.
Not the audio, but the ebook. But you can find it two ways. One, to go directly to Amazon. The other is to go to my website, heaveniswithin.net. When you click on that, there'll be two tabs. One's called Book Summary. One's called Taking a Chance on Life Video. They will both describe the book in detail, what it's about. You can read the bio that tells you where I'm coming from and where I'm going. And that basically those are the two ways you can actually get it. It's been reviewed professionally. It's done fairly well. And I really hope you enjoy the book. Now, I am giving away 10 of these books to listeners who will email me at mike.kaplan, K-A-P as in Paul, L-A-N as in Nancy, at comcast.net. You just simply have to email me, and I'm going to select 10 emails and send them books that are signed. How I'll do it is it's just going to be a random drawing. Whoever emails me, I'll take the names down, I'll put them into a hat, so to speak, the old-fashioned way, and pick out 10. And those people will receive Taking a Chance on Life. The second is also out. It's called The Art of Connection. It was just actually put out this week. The Art of Connection, 365 Days of Transformational Quotes. I'm a participating author in that book. I'm not an author of that book, but I'm a participating author. That did extremely well. That's a series. This is the third book in the series. You can see that also on Amazon. And the third is in the process of being produced. It's called Conversations with Michael.
I love that. Oh my goodness. That's so great. All right. So if you want to find Mike, go to heaveniswithin.net. And he's got a lot of really cool things on there, including some YouTube videos that I started to watch. And so you can definitely hear more about that. Oh, I guess that's it. That's our cue that we are needing to wrap up, folks. So we love you very much. For those of you who celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year.
Indeed.
Happy Hanukkah and happy winter solstice. We love you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Empower Me Show with Pam Bright on Transformation Talk Radio. Tune in to learn more about living a fully empowered life. Remember that your life is up to you, and you can choose the spiritual path you are on. There is spiritual energy and wisdom in everything and everyone around you. Listen carefully for what the universe is trying to tell you in every moment. You are already being guided along your journey. Call upon your spirit guides anytime you need help with anything. Know that you are safe in every moment, even if it seems that you are not. For more information about Pam Bright, visit brightbutterflyenterprises.com or email theempowermeshow@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening. We hope to see you next week.